So I've always had a deep appreciation and fascination with old Pokemon cards, and just old Pokemon in general. Kids these days don't understand how f***ing special Generation 1 is, and I wanted to revisit that, because the base set, like, seeing how modernized and flashy Pokemon is, you go back to the base set, and it captures why being a 90s kid is the best. We had Green Ketchup, Moon Shoes, Crossfire, and Nickelodeon game shows. Everything was about how awesome it is to be a kid. I don't care if I was too young to understand it was just predatory marketing for us to, like, feed into capitalism, but it worked and it was great then, and the results just made us all happy and fun. Unlike, again, kids these days. So what I wanted to do was really go through the base set and also all of the older Pokemon card sets and just kind of really get the vibe and understand it in a way that I haven't really understood in years, or I was just too much of a kid to really kind of, like, feel the weight of everything going on here. And even then, like, you don't know the future. You don't know where Pokemon is going to go, and not even Game Freak knew where Pokemon was going to go, because that's like the kickoff point for this fascination, that a lot of the card designs is just Pokemon and then stock background, or Pokemon and barely any background. And I wanted to see how that evolves. I eventually want to look at every Pokemon card. Now, I know I'm not going to find every promo or Japanese exclusive or stuff like that, but I want to just kind of look through all the sets, see if I find any other favorite artists, see if I find, like, any of just my favorite Pokemon cards I never knew existed because I didn't play through all the sets or keep up with the TCG. This isn't going to be a meta-analysis. This isn't going to be like a historical, competitive Pokemon TCG, look at the power creep kind of deal. I just kind of want to see, like, are EX cards cool? Are the secret rares, alternative arts, and all these new things, like, enhancing Pokemon? Or was simpler better, and, like, this was the best time to be a Pokemon fan. This was when you had it all. And the reason why I've been holding and flipping this book around is because it's a book of my favorite artist, Kagamaru Himeno. It's not all of her cards, and I don't have all of, like, the original Gen 1 cards that she made. Also, there's some Arita in here because Mitsuhiro Arita, also the GOAT. So I also wanted to see, like, yo, what really cool modern cards have these other artists made? What other new artists and styles and, like, potentially new favorite Pokemon card artists are there to discover by just kind of, like, going through and looking at the cards and actually, like, paying attention to what's going on in the history of Pokemon card. Also, real quick, I gotta shout out G Fuel. It's the only thing that gives me the energy for these kinds of projects, the crazy videos I make, and the hours and hours of elite gaming that I do. Just keep scooping in the caffeine, the Focus Complex kicks. It's the best energy drink I've found for what I do. Also, BOGO announcement, Anime BOGO. Dozens of anime-inspired flavors. Buy one, get one free. Use my tracking link down below. Otherwise, use code Verlisify for 20% off. Now, I actually have multiple video ideas and, like, mini-series spin-offs for this idea, so your support means everything for this kind of video. We get dislike botted, we get hate rated, we get, like, suppressed by YouTube, suppressed by all the haters and stuff. Leaving a like on the video helps more than you can imagine. Watching the full video, that's a huge deal. Commenting, subscribing, sharing. Like, this is going to be one of the rawest looks through Pokemon, and just kind of like a retrospective of Pokemon cards, but also, like, the insanity. How many people actually, like, go through and, like, look at on every Pokemon card and try to understand the vibe of the set and, like, how everything has evolved? Because then, like, there's some already interesting things where if I find it, and then there's just some, like, fascinations of things maybe we'll never even know about Pokemon, because to me, that feels like a Kagamaru Himeno background with a Mitsuhiro Arita Pokemon, but the card is just Mitsuhiro Arita. Here's another one from Arita that looks like it has a Himeno background, and then here's a Kagamaru Himeno card. This is one of my favorites. Here it is in my book. And the reason why I love these cards is, like, look at how beautiful that background. It has some kind of whimsy and brightness to me that has always just... you can't put emotion, like, art into emotion into words sometimes, especially when it's like, I always felt this from childhood. How is Himeno so talented that she makes me like Zubat? I've never put Zubat in a top anything of a Pokemon list to me. It's always the annoying Mount Moon Pokemon, but this is one of my favorite cards of all time. First page, even though the pages aren't by, like, you know, which Pokemon are in cards I like the most. But the Zubat card from Fossil is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon cards. There's something magical to all of her Generation 1 cards that I am not artistic or eloquent enough to put into words. It's just the emotion, the feel of it. And like, look at this. Forms colonies in perpetually dark places, uses ultrasonic waves to identify and approach targets. That doesn't say anything about Mount Moon, but you know you're inside Mount Moon there. It's that little bit of extra background lore to the Pokemon cards that's also amazing, and so many other observations and interesting things to point out about, like, Pokemon cards, that again, like, if I just kind of look through all the cards and go, that one's kind of cool, that one's kind of cool, I'm gonna miss it, when every set probably, like, has a story going on in it that can be extracted and told or something, especially the Sinnoh area, where it's like, hey, there's Mount Coronet. Hey, there's Mount Coronet. Hey, there's something brewing in the background. I'm not going to catch that with, like, this overview, but I understand, like, there's something special going on with Pokemon cards that I think has been lost, which is also why I want to kind of go through this kind of series and this kind of look at the old Pokemon cards and get an idea for what's going on. I don't know how I'm going to make this video. I don't know what's going to happen next. I just know I'm going to look at the cards and I'm going to come up with something. Also, going back to the different ways these videos can spin off or other ideas where it's like, yeah, Cerebi has done the work for us, that we have just all of the cards by Kagamaru Himeno. This is the older ones, this is the newer ones. You can see the style, you can see the depictions of the Pokemon, the actual Pokemon art itself, because most of my fascination is from the background of her Pokemon cards just being so wonderful, but also the cards and Pokemon themselves are really well done. The representations are so cool, and also is one of those things where it's like, depending on how much of a stickler you are, or Pokemon lore freak, or whatever, it's like, yeah, Kagamaru Himeno started with the jungle set, and that's why I pulled out, because, like, the Zubat card, the Golem card, the other ones, it's jungle, even though I said, like, Arita was doing, like, it seemed like almost a Kagamaru background on an Arita card from base set, even though, like, she wouldn't have been a part of that, maybe? I don't know. It also, like, brings in fascinations about the illustration programs being used at the time to make the Pokemon cards. I know Arita is all about the watercolor, so he could have easily made this, and this could have been his own style, but it is interesting to kind of see those similar styles and similar card arts. But then that goes into deeper things we might never know. Did Himeno find inspiration from Arita's just paintings and then try to do similar backgrounds? Was there some kind of collaborative effort where one learned from the other or something? Who knows? And then the difference with Kin Sugimori art, where it looks like he drew official Pokemon concepts and then they just got put onto a cell with a very basic background behind it. With Arita, is this one complete art piece, or is it a drawing of Squirtle blowing bubbles on top of something, and then the background is something that it's overlaid on top of? It's just so crazy how they put this set together. I don't remember if I hallucinated this, or maybe it's its own spin-off video, but, like, didn't someone find the actual stock background image on, like, the Arcanine card or the Dratini card or something? Or there were, like, stock images used and maybe, like, slightly edited for some of the original Pokemon cards? Again, maybe I just made that up, but it feels like something that might have happened. But also, like, it's just paintings. When you go back to, like, old Magic the Gathering cards and stuff like that. Like, come on, that Ponyta has to be a stock image. That's its own lore spin-off video. Some are just, like, simple painting backgrounds where it's like, yeah, you put some twigs in there. And then, like, the Ghastly one is also another fascinating card. As a kid, that's the Microsoft Maze. When you go into the corner and then everything melts down, except it's got a Ghastly and some graffiti. Like, this is 90s. This is as fascinatingly 90s as it gets, and why I love this stuff. Same thing for the Magnemite. Being able to evoke a 3D feeling in the 90s with just how emerging all that kind of stuff was, just seeing Mario 64, the negative emotional aura of Wet Dry World, and just everything about early 3D just kind of feeling like strange little assets. Even the octahedron that was just like the RGBY to change the water levels, all those things were just so enigmatic as a kid, especially Magnemite. Like, Magnemite as a Pokemon is fascinating in itself. Like, it's magnets, it's technology, it's this new, cool kind of thing, and the art perfectly reflects that in the base set. And that's the kind of cool shit I want to reflect on and talk about. Also, it is kind of amazing when you look at all the old art, and it's Kin Sugimori. And it's Kin Sugimori, and it's Kin Sugimori, and it's like you can see the Kin Sugimori card, where it's like, it's about drawing the Pokemon and slapping it on there. That you didn't need anything flashy. You didn't need anything else to represent. The games came first, they threw the marketing on top of that. It's like, hey, here is your Pokemon card. This is your baseball trading card for Pokemon. It's just a Pokemon on a card, and it's the coolest shit you've ever seen, kid. Now, there's also classics. Everyone knows that Base Set Charizard, not only is it like the most well-known, popular, expensive Pokemon card ever, but that's Mitsuhiro Rita. So there's something interesting behind that as well. Why was flipping Clefairy, with its 40 hit points, a holographic rare? And there's Ken Sugimori. And it all makes sense because Ken Sugimori wanted Clefairy to be the mascot of Pokemon. In interviews, he said he only knew how to make cool Pokemon. That's also where we get like the Ken Sugimori traditional Pokemon eye design, and Clefairy was his one attempt at making a cute Pokemon over a cool one. There's so much fascinating Pokemon lore, and you can see it in the cards. And then there's just some other like mixy stuff with this. Why is Dugtrio kind of 3D? It's already its own weird kind of Pokemon, because Diglett is another fascinating Pokemon with Dugtrio. Like, we got this little mole dude, 3 of them come together and they look like that. And again, that's the coolest thing you've ever seen, kid. Also, just trying to make it mean something to the games, where even in the base set, they were like, hey, this is level 36. That's why it has 70 hit points. That's why it does this much damage. That's why it's an evolved Pokemon. Every time you open up a pack of Pokemon cards, you are catching the Pokemon inside, and you are getting the feel and complete representation of that Pokemon as they were in the games. And then Voltorb hitting you with the neon like it's a background in Rainbow Road. And look at that. It's the same artist that did the other 3D ones. So not only are we thinking like illustration programs, but 3D rendering and modeling programs. Again, where you have like these weird lighting and these textures and this modeling and rendering that just kind of comes out in its own strange way. And then that hits just like the Windows 3D screensaver. And that's before we get into the shenanigans of the trainer cards, where there we go. There's our 3D bro again. I gotta look him up. Because it's not like the same like wow factor as I get from a Himeno card, but it stands out. And like you can see, like there was only a couple designers. They had to make sets. They had to get these cards out. And just insane what they cooked up in the 90s. Look at this dude. Look at the cards. Oh yeah, I also love that Electro card. Of course he did the Ghastly one. The Magneton. It's so interesting to see without like the foil, because that's the only way like anyone's ever really experienced that Magneton card. And then the Magnemite, the Starmie, same thing. And it is these kind of like more fascinating, interesting kind of Pokemon than all the items. There's something special to all of this. It was called Stiffen instead of Harden. And the more I look at computer search, the more I realize this card can be its own trivia video for multiple reasons. I said I was going to avoid like the meta stuff and power creep, because like, oh, Bill, you could just play 4 Bills in a turn and then stack it with a Professor Oak. GG easy. This card, where it's like, oh, discard 2 other cards from your hand to search your deck for any card, became an ace spec card. The exact card. So you were only allowed 1 of this type of card in your deck in a future set. So we got some wild stuff, but then going back to like the whole idea of the theme, how they pieced this set together, whatever's going on for Generation 1 to make it all make sense. And wow, base set came out in late 1996, which predates the... I hate the ads on Bulbapedia now, because all it does is that with the video nonsense, which predates the Pokemon anime, which means this is the first physical look outside of the games of the PC box. And it has, like, look, they took the Mankey card and they put it in there and like shows the Pokemon stats and some kind of metrics and the link trade. Like, this is a huge part of Pokemon that no one realized. And the devs knew the power of this card. Computer search is a rarity card. And it sounds really bad by like modern TCG standards, because you're going heavy minus to tutor. But this was also back when you had like so much draw power. You got 3 cards in your hand, computer search and 2 others you don't care about. You play it, you get a Professor Oak. Now you have 7 cards in your hand, one of which could be a computer search or a Bill. And then we have another incredibly fascinating item and piece of art with plus power. What's happening in the background? Like, what's this line breaking through the other line? What does it mean? I don't know, but it feels correct. And it also makes you think, what is an X item? What am I feeding my Pokemon to make it stronger? Is this a pill bottle? Like, do you just open up and give them one of the little things and boom, now your Pokemon's stronger? Or are you supposed to, like, shoot the entire thing? And then the 3D render. The first thing you learn for, like, a Blender tutorial is taking a sphere and then pulling apart the middle and then making a pill. So, I mean, like, this maybe even with 1995 technology, 1996 technology, took a couple minutes to make, because you do that, you put 2 Tauruses, you color, you do a quick render, and you put some triangles inside. Like, 90s 3D CG was just different. Actually, there's a huge trivia video possibility with just the implications of the trainer cards in base set and what they mean for Pokemon. De-evolution spray is canon for Pokemon. Same with a lot of things. Not Pokemon Breeder, but I'm just kind of like going through the other trainers. We have like Proto Rare Candy, where it's just like, oh, Pokemon breeding. Before Pokemon breeding existed, but at this point, Gold and Silver were in development, so we have that kind of working out, and it just kind of shows like, this is the job potential. This is a career inside of Pokemon, because of course it is, because that Pokemon are used to battle and fight, and you need to have the best Pokemon. And oh wait, that's Brock. Brock from the anime. I'm a Pokemon breeder. It always existed. Scoop up. Just the meme. Just the complete meme of like this entire CG interaction that still has its own like enigmatic fascination behind it. And then Imposter Professor Oak. Who is this? I didn't have to worry about this in the games. I didn't think this was an actual thing that existed in the Pokemon world, but of course it does. There's going to be bad actors everywhere. I mean, there's evil teams in all the regions in games. Seedy stuff is always happening non-stop in the Pokemon world. I mean, your adventure is halted early on by some drunk dude passed out, because that's just the real gritty life of what's going on. And then there's also Pokemon like Muck. This image is another image that sticks with me through my childhood because, oh, the banned Porygon episode, but it did make a cameo in the world of Pokemon for the Pokemon movies. However, look at that. Like, we have the industrial side of Pokemon. That's why I said Grimer, Muck, Porygon, Magnemite, Voltorb, Electro. There's grittiness to the back streets of the Pokemon world, and that's, I guess, where you could find Imposter Professor Oak. What is his intention? What nefarious... We don't get the lore through the Pokemon card. What does Imposter Professor Oak have to gain? Because it's not like you don't have your own Pokemon. Is he going to give you a Rattata? Is he teaching me out to rob you and bring back the money? I don't know. This is not something the games prepared us for. And then, oh hey, wait, there's the real Professor Oak. He's also in this set. And then again, just the disgustingness of drawing 7 cards for free. You played 2 cards from your hand and a Professor Oak, and it's just a straight up plus. Yes, that just kind of goes into shenanigans of Pokemon. I'm an idiot, but also this is why I want to look back at the cards and actually pay attention to some of the cards. Because when I looked at this as a kid, it always looked like a town map to me. Like, this is a Pokemon Center in one town, this is a Pokemon Center in another town, and so on. Mostly probably because like the Pokemon board game. That looks like a board game with Pokemon Centers on it, right? No, that's just the straight up like healing machine, and that's what these banks are for. You put the Pokeball in, that's your Pokeball with the Pokemon inside, and then they're healing because they're in the slots. Again, but it's just like some kind of strange design. That is the vision of Pokemon in 1996. And then another rare card that's just absolutely disgusting. Also, going back to computer search, I think it's funny because as a kid, I might not have ever done that, where it's like, wait, I've got 3 cards in my hand, I just search a Professor Oak, and now I've got 7 cards in my hand off the computer search. I probably went for something like a Chansey and thought I had a win condition. What are these things? How does that make any sense? Who cares? It's the 90s and anything CG is cool. Except for this. That's creepy. I don't like it. Energy retrieval is just mysterious orbs. Revive. Like, Revive. Another strange canon thing. How does Revive work in Pokemon? Like, it's just a magical star that revives your Pokemon. They recycled the 3D Weedle for another trainer card. That's hilarious. Potion. It's just the potion bottle, and it's got a little spray thing, and you can even see like the straw inside, and it's hyper. Discard 1 energy card, all that fun stuff. Energy removal. Another stupidly disgusting card where for the cost of drawing a card, you eliminate your opponent's turn, and you can draw like your entire deck in the old school Pokemon. That it was just fun back then, wasn't it? And again, was I just too stupid as a kid? Like, what is the average amount of cards drawn in a turn for the original Pokemon? Any number above 3. Energy removal is a plus against your opponent. So you could actually just computer search for the energy removal. You pay 3 cards to remove an energy card from your opponent, and that's probably a plus. Who cares about drawing 2 cards? We actually get to see Bill from the games, and he looks as quirky and weird as you would expect. The iconic smirk of drawing 2 cards. And if the dude's gonna model a Magnemite, you might as well put it in another card. And here we have like the first trade. The first animated trade in Pokemon where it's like, oh yeah, we see the little dudes bouncing across our Game Boy Link cable, but this is what it looks like, and this is what it became for future Pokemon trade animations. What an absolutely fascinating set of Pokemon cards, and I like just straight jump to the trainers where you also have some of the most iconic cards and iconic Pokemon being represented. So like, yo, I love the cute fox Pokemon. There it is. Sugimori took his concept art, slapped it on, and then gave it some Blends Flare, and you have a great Pokemon card. How did any of this happen? Okay, and it's the next day because I spent over an hour looking at the base set and then like another hour editing the video, and we're already 20 minutes in and we just hit jungle, kind of, because there's still a few more things I want to talk about with base set. I mean, it's mostly like, oh, the fully evolved Pokemon and then the art and the holos, and just like, that's also its own thing where this is a cool, neat, special thing. I'm repeating myself, but what else is there to say? Then we even have like legendary Pokemon. You pulled a Zapdos. You got a Zapdos. That's so cool. So a lot of stuff like that. And then Jungle is a very weird set because we get Clefable. So if you want to have Clefairy Clefable, you need to have the rare holo pre-evolution, and then it finally evolves. But also that happened for a couple of other Pokemon. We just Pidgeotto here, and then Dragonair. So it's so weird. I was like, wait a second, how many cards were in the set? There's 151 Pokemon, 102 cards, and a huge amount of trainer support and energies. So yeah, there was not enough Pokemon, and like you just see that when going through. It's like, where are all those? Where are the fan favorites? There were no fan favorites yet. Pokemon just launched. They were just making whatever they could at the time. So a lot of stuff like that. Wait, another Electrode though? That's interesting. And this is before Eevee was the second mascot of Pokemon. So now we have like, wait, it took this long to get Eeveelutions and learn like Eevee and see all that cool representation. And then Vaporeon, I can't say got shafted because of implications, but Vaporeon just don't look right in this one. Oh, it's a Himeno card, damn. But also the background is its own thing. And then it gets also really weird because you have rares, but the rares then have a foil version, so you can just get the card without all the shininess in the way. And sometimes it was the only way to actually see how that Pokemon art looked without the holographics. Some of these cards are just so cool and they hit so hard that it doesn't matter if you got the holo version or not, but it was actually a card in the set. 20 out of 64 for the non-holo, and then we get into the holos and that's 4 out of 64. So there's a lot of duplicates in this small set because that's 12, 16, so it's not even like a 64 card set. It's much smaller than that. Himeno Executor with a beautiful beachside background. Love it. We also just get to see like some other Pokemon, and then just like still these cards that come out. Like, wait, is that a 3D render? That kind of looks, you know, a little more CGI, and then you just confirm it off of the Illustrator. Yep, there's our boy once again. Ken Sugimori, concept art, stock image, GG easy. They're making Pokemon work, guys. Isn't that cool? Oh wait, by the way, the set's over. Like, there's 4 more at the bottom here. Rhyhorn, Spearow, Venonat, Pokeball. 1 trainer card in the entire jungle set. And it's a tiny set that's extra reduced by the holo and rare variants of a card, and then just other stuff going on like that. And we have like fully evolved Pokemon that are just uncommons. Like, okay, cool, right on. That seems like a very strong, powerful Pokemon. Another Himeno with like a now very forceful image right here, and then like the motion blur background. all that cool stuff. So yeah, not as much to say about Jungle as the base set, except for like the quirks of the small size of the set, and like, oh cool, we just have like non-holo versions of the holo cards. That's neat. What set do we have next? We have Fossil, another small set. And wait a second, Gengar wasn't in base set. There's Gengar and another Ghastly evolutionary line. So there's also like some duplicates in some of the other sets. We finally get Articuno Moltres, Himeno Aerodactyl, Hitmonlee, and then Raichu once again, and then the same thing, and then Ditto. Ditto, this is another one of those like fascinating cards where like, oh, you have the checkerboard, and then you put 3D, and that's just Ditto. And it works because it's in that realm of Pokemon, Porygon, Voltorb, Magnemite, stuff like that. Now we finally see our Dragonite and Kagemaru Himeno. Really cool stuff. Chance to do 80 damage. Step in once during your turn. If Dragonite's on your bench, you may switch it. I guess that was just the time. You had to evolve it twice to get 100 hit points to maybe do 0 to 80 damage. What a game. And then, to the namesake, we also have Fossil. Now we got extra rules text. Now we got to figure out what's going on. Play it as if it was a basic Pokemon. While in play, it counts as a Pokemon. No attacks. Can't have anything done to it. Doesn't count as a knocked out Pokemon, so it's like a substitute doll that evolves into the fossils, but you gotta revive it, so you gotta spend the turn and the time. At any time before you attack, you may discard Mysterious Fossil from play, so you could also like just put it out there and it's like, oh, the opponent didn't have enough energies to attack, and I didn't draw my Kabuto, so I guess I just discard it. No retreat cost. Okay, let's go. Does it say basic? Yeah, treat it as if it was a basic Pokemon. So that also means you can like Pokemon Breeder or Rare Candy it, and then just you just play it. And it makes sense because you have to like start with the fossil to go into another Pokemon. So it's not like you have the baby form of Kabuto or Ammonite or something. And then yeah, we actually get to see some really cool cards. Like, that is a fun little fossil dude. And this is where we see more of my favorite cards. It has the Geodude Graveler Golem inside of it. It's got the Zubat, some other ones, the Psyduck, that's a Himeno card. And it feels like the quality of the overall card art has gone up significantly. Like, the crazy thing is, these sets were still launching months apart. Like, going from base set into Jungle was still 6 months, and then Jungle into Fossil, that's already a year of the Pokemon TCG, but now Pokemon's blowing up off the games. It's also getting super popular. The TCG is popping off. So now it's like, oh wait, there's like resources, and you can put more time and effort and work to now expanding the Pokemon TCG. It feels like more like a true expansion. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe that's just all complete crap, but there's something else going on here, it feels. And then more fleshed out rules, maybe tuning on the power a bit more, trying to understand like, yo, this is a playable game. It's not just kids baseball cards, it's baseball cards that function like Magic the Gathering, that have effects that you're actually supposed to be a Pokemon trainer, just not in the video games. Mr. Fuji, much like Bill, we didn't get to know much about the dude from the games, but here we go. And then Energy Search, more CGI filler, but it's interesting. We also have Recycle, a negative emotional aura card. We're just like, oh, look at this sad little June Pump get thrown away in the trash, and now just getting like craned away. I mean, I guess it's cool because it does go back into your deck. This should be a nice thing, even though it looks sad. But yeah, we got Smash Bros. Jigglypuff with the melee hitbox on the foot, so the TCG is actually very ahead of its time. And again, like the card quality, like there's more going on in the backgrounds. There's more going on with the Pokemon and the cards. It's more dynamic. It feels like we are getting a snapshot of the Pokemon in its world instead of just like stock image, clip art, CG, like just straight up on that. Now, some of it did work. Like I said, the Magnemite card, it's like, yeah, that actually feels really cool. But now we're stepping it up. We're going a little bit beyond. The Magneton card, this is another one of my favorite designs. Something captivates me about just the yellow, the pink, the neon, again, the Rainbow Road vibes. Also just the essence of the 90s in simplicity, in some kind of strange way. And I just think Magneton is a cool Pokemon, especially it's like, oh, Pokemon Snap. You fuse them together. The Pokemon fuses together. There's magic out there. How does it even exist? I don't know. Magnets, how do they work? It's cool, and it represents Magneton. And you're just like, yeah, we have a set of Pokemon cards that comes together, and like, you know, we still got like Muck there's nothing terrible about it. The background's simple, but it's like, yeah, we got swoosh swoosh, we got some other Pokemon. Neat. A cool set, even though it's small. And then things get weird. So like we can actually see, October 10th, 1999, jungle set. Okay, so I'm going to make this mistake multiple times in the video because I was just like in flow and my brain is already just kind of like losing it off of staring at hundreds of Pokemon cards and trying to find their meaning. So it's like, yeah, Japanese, October 20th, 1996 on base set, March 1997, and then Fossil, June. Actually, that's a lot closer, so maybe that explains like why there were so little cards in the set. And then November, but I mean, like, it still took time to build out. February 24th, 2000, so over a year since the release of base set, we get base set 2, which has 130 cards compared to 102 cards on the base set. So like, wait a second, these numbers matter and all these interactions kind of matter, and it's weird and fascinating, like trying to think about it as a kid, because yeah, it did feel like I pulled a lot of duplicate cards because the sets were so small when it's like, oh, you get a pack of Fossil or a pack of Jungle, but it also still felt large enough. It still felt like the correct amount of cards, which is like, yeah, you need to have multiple of them. So it's actually fair to build a Pokemon deck back in the day. And then base set 2, fixing some of the wrongs. Like, was this production? Was it that they did not have enough time and resources to make a 150 card base set? The crazy thing about Magic the Gathering is Alpha released with 295 cards. That's why there's starter decks. That's why the game was like playable before it needed the first major expansions. And that was back in 1993, so like Pokemon had time to learn off of that by making like a playable TCG kind of game, but it was just like off the hype, off the rush. And again, going back to like the mood of base set, still a playable game, but mostly like I now have a physical representation of my favorite characters, for the most part, of the game that everyone loves right now. And I don't know if it was just me, but base set 2 felt wrong. It felt ugly. It felt like you were buying cheaper, faker Pokemon cards because like you have this 2 here. You're getting the second place version, technically a third place version, because you don't have the first edition original base set card anymore. I didn't like the set, but when you think about it, this was actually like a really good set and kind of what base set should have been, where it's like, oh, you have the full evolutionary lines. You have more Pokemon that were represented that got cut and mixed around in different sets. So there's like our Hitmonchan, our Gyarados. Magikarp's a meme Pokemon, but Gyarados is a significant Pokemon. And then a lot of the original stuff and same stuff from base set 1, but there's still like other Pokemon and mixes in here. We got Rhydon, that was Fossil, I believe. We got reprints of the starters, that was good. So I also wonder like how much of this was making an unlimited edition similar to Magic. That's also why it feels cheap, That 2 is your white border. That 2 is this is not the real original card. It's tainted, it's flawed. I have strong language. It's disgusting. I just do not agree with or jive with anything from the 2. But also, was that intentional, like Unlimited Edition? Like, yo, we just gotta keep printing until we meet demand because kids are crying that they can't get their Pokemon cards and everyone loves and wants to play Pokemon now. Pokeball also finding its way in. It's like the one trainer card from Jungle squeezing into this one, and then a lot of the same stuff from base set. And that's mostly my thoughts on base set 2. Like, it's actually a coherent, complete set. You can't go wrong, especially like if you were trying to get into actually playing the game and going to Toys R Us and competing or just learning and playing with your friends or your siblings or something. Like, this is all you need. You just needed to buy tons of packs of base set 2, and you had mostly everything. I haven't even looked through these structure decks, which also have their own thing. Like, we have Zap. Isn't that just the name of one of the structure decks? It was just called Zap. We also have like cool names like Brushfire and Blackout, and they're actually like kind of playing on color synergies in a similar way to Magic, where it's like, oh, water and ground on the same deck, you can do that. Fire and grass, yeah, like there's no anti-synergies inside of Pokemon if you're building into yourself or anything like that. Water Blast, Power Reserve, Bodyguard, like this is some cool stuff. And like, yeah, you actually kept getting sets, so you didn't only have to buy the packs and then hope you get something. You could find cards guaranteed, or at least have the structure deck for structure to building your own unique Pokemon decks with. Psych Out. I remember that one. And then we just go into like some other ones. Devastation, Trouble for Team Rocket. That's so good. You could just straight up buy yourself a holo Mewtwo. That's kind of cool. You get 2 bills. What more could you ask for? Blackout giving you Hitmonchan and Squirtle. Oh, what's Hitmonchan in base set? Hitmonlee. So like, yeah, even Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee spaced out from the original sets. And Hitmonchan is just like one of the meta cards, right? Because like, oh, a no 40 or a no drawback 40. You just need 2 color, 1 colorless, and then you can like 2-shot a lot of Pokemon on just a 70 hit point drop. All right. Water Blast from Jungle. I don't recall ever seeing this one, but you got Vaporeon, so that's kind of cool. And you had Professor Oak. Man, these decks were so weak, but at least you got something. You got some cool things to work with. This is an iconic one. I definitely remember Bodyguard. A Water Psychic deck that gives you the Holo Wigglytuff. Where's the deck that gives you, like, why wasn't this Holo Clefable? Because, like, you kind of needed that after base set. Stops at War Turtle. Gotta pull the Blastoise yourself. That's why Zap was just like, oh, this has, like, real Pokemon and legendaries. All right. That brings us to the Team Rocket set. So January, February, March, April. So, like, yeah, we actually get into some quick set releases, even though base set kind of a re-release, but like, yo, now like there's support. You can find Pokemon cards, you can get cards you're looking for. The game is expanding and becoming more and more playable, and the sets are getting a little bit larger, and now we got a cool gimmick. Oh, Dark Dragonite's just such a, like, all the dark cards are just like the coolest things, and everyone wanted them and had to have them. Dark Magnemite, I always loved this card. And once again, another difference between like the holos and stuff, where the holo was just so washed out with like white and glitter, but with this, like, oh no, they're preying on my boy Magnemite. Kind of don't like that. Dark Doug Trio, a classic. Holographic trainer cards, that's a holographic energy. All of this is the coolest stuff ever. Bro, just everything about this set. Actually the coolest stuff ever. The Pokemon are dark, they're mean, they're corrupted by Team Rocket like we've seen in the anime. We get our evolution run, we get everything. We have our evolution run back, we have our green Primeape, we have Dark Dragonair and Dragonite, Dark Gyarados. That's a cool Gyarados card. So much was actually like super duper cool in the set. I'm happy I'm able to remember and like see it all in the same place and feel it all at once. And then we got the cute Dratini though. Look at the cute Dratini. Oh, another Himeno card. Where's that? I thought I had one. Why can't I find that? I want to put it in my binder. The simplicity of some of the cards as well. We also have Porygon. The box Porygon is so, like, another just, like, strange things. Like, yeah, that's that. That's kind of neat. Imposter Oak's Revenge. Hold up. Lore? Let's see where that goes. And just a lot of wacky and weird stuff and expansion on the game. So it is kind of cool. Like, they took the theme of the set. They got dark and weird with it, and then they actually like made functioning cards that further improved and enhanced with it. And then where's the Diglett? Ah, the infamous Diglett. You got a Japanese one of those, and you were the edgiest kid in school. So yeah, let's actually like look at some of these cards I pulled up. So Dark Doug Trio. Yo, wait a second. That's what happened in the games, where you're in Cerulean City and you have to like go out through the hole that Team Rocket made. We're seeing the story. We're seeing the lore. They tunneled into some poor dude's house. That's and then it's just like another Doug Trio. It's like, what is this thing? I don't care. It's cool. Rocket Sneak Attack. So I guess for the 2000 English release, which also feels weird and kind of late, like the Team Rocket set was in the new millennium, even though Pokemon had been popping for a while, and that's still like Gen 1 base set era of the TCG. But yo, we've seen Team Rocket in the anime and the games and Pokemon Yellow. Each player plays with the rest of her prize cards, or with her prize cards face up for the rest of the game. That's just a free card you get to play for free, and you get a free draw when you get a KO. And then I have one of these in one of my other, like my rare binder. One of the coolest cards, a holographic special energy card. While in play is every type of energy, only provides one at a time. When you attach it, it does 10 damage to that Pokemon. Cool shit. And then a beautifully simplistic Magnemite card from someone we haven't seen yet. Maybe they were in like one of the other sets, but like, yeah, now we're actually seeing more representation. But of course, our boy is getting the Porygon card. I love Gift Box Porygon so much. Imposter Oak's Revenge. What is your lore? What were you doing? We didn't even find out, like, what's the incentive behind impostering Professor Oak. Discard a card from your hand, your opponent shuffles their hand into the deck and then draws 4 cards. Okay, we already have control developing, and then you play a Team Rocket on top of that, and they've got 3 cards and no trainers to draw back from. Really cool. And then we have a Team Rocket Secret Machine, where it's just like, oh, this is like a contraption from the anime. This is very unpleasant, and they are just abusing Pokemon with this, and now we have like weird game rule stuff happening. Flip a coin. If tails, 10 damage to your active Pokemon. If heads, your opponent flips a coin. If tails, your opponent takes it. And then you keep doing it until a player gets tails. All that to do 10 damage. Sleep, another Rocket Secret Machine. This, again, is unpleasant. Why so mmany drones and like weird machines to go after the Snorlax? And then flip a coin of heads, they're now asleep. Alright. More like, I guess that's it. Like, it is just like RNG shenanigans. Dark Raichu, really cool card. I believe the first secret rare, even though kids didn't really pay attention to this stuff, you're like, wait, 83 out of 82. Oh, Potion Energy, a utility energy card that has like a really interesting design. Play this card from your hand, remove 1 damage counter. And it's just a colorless energy. But you still need those. That's neat. Same thing on Heal Energy. No more status, gives you an energy. So it's a full heal, but better. And then promo cards. So we have Wizards of the Coast, the infamous Black Star promo. 53 cards randomly released whenever with all kinds of different cards and effects and interesting stuff. We have Gen 2 Pokemon factoring into the original base set series. And that's also why, like, oh, this is the last one. I'm not talking about Gym Heroes in the Gen 1 one. Well, that's actually because Gym Heroes is after base set, and it's kind of a mini series of Gym Heroes, like an Orange Islands kind of vibe. I don't know. So yeah, we can just talk about these, and then that's going to be it for this video, because like, man, we're not even out of Gen 1 fully, because we still have like Gym Heroes before we get into Neo, and I don't know how long this video is going to be. Dark Persian, yeah, like we got all this cool stuff, and we have like other trainers. So it's like, oh, I don't know like what the legality was, but if you're just playing with your friends or locals and you're not keeping up with all the rules, like of course Ancient Mew isn't legal, and I think the Birthday Pikachu, so like yeah, there were weird ban cards. I don't know if there were restrictions, like you're only allowed to have 2 computer search or 2 super energy removal, or what the actual rules were at the time, because it was 1999, 2000 Pokemon, come on. So like, imagine not going to events or not getting these rare exclusive promo cards and being out potential trainer access when there's not a lot of trainer support for certain Pokemon and stuff. Cool Porygon, god damn, that's just like, that's the coolest thing ever, isn't it? Got a really awesome Holo Eevee card, the Mew that you would get for participating in Pokemon events, which is also weird because like, this was just a fossil, like a holo or a rare from Fossil. I have the Japanese one, but then it got a promo for English localization outside of Jungle. And also the Jungle set, like all the sets are going to be different from like Japan to America and stuff. So it's kind of like a mix for these videos and retrospectives, but like a lot of stuff's going on here. And then just like, yeah, random CEG and Electabuzz, the movie promos, the coolest stuff you've ever seen. Black Star promos again, and then more movie promos. Hype. Birthday Pikachu. They're breaking the 4th wall. Surfing and Flying Pikachu. Pokemon Snap promos. God damn, the 90s were the best. Smeargle. Really neat. We also have the movie promos. And then some unknown shenanigans. And again, like other trainer cards. Ancient Mew. And Snorlax. So let's look at some of these. Does this actually like do anything? You may draw up to 5 cards. Then your opponent may draw up to 5 cards. Your turn is now over. Okay, at least that's kind of trash. Unless you're doing a mill strat and you're trying to bait your opponent, because they draw 5 cards, and then even though your turn ends, you just have to like tank it out. Like you play defense power. It's so weird because plus power was called plus power, and I guess actually you need defender to kind of see like, oh, defender is deflecting the attack and plus power is breaking through. Very simple symbolism, but it's like called defender, not X defense, not defense power or defense up or plus defense, just defender. But either way, like, yeah, you play defender, and then you end your turn. They drew 5 cards, and the next turn you hit them with like Imposter Professor Oaks or other draw or something. Maybe there was like a mill Pokemon power. It's like, oh, just discard the top card. Maybe a coin flip card or something. Like, you could actually bait your opponent super hard, and maybe by the time they realize it, they lose. Okay, Pokemon Center is just alt art Pokemon. What is this? Big Mama illustration? And that's also this, when it looks like the CG boy. Lucky Stadium. Once, that player may flip a coin. If heads, that player draws a card. Stadium cards. Rare. Pokemon Tower. Effective a Pokemon Power attack energy card that would put a discard pile into its owner's hand. That card stays. Damn. Lore. That's actually pretty cool. Like, yo, that card's buried. It's not coming back. And then more representation. Oh, yeah, I like the wisps. I just noticed that. Where it's like, oh, yeah, those are spirits. A representation of the Pokemon Tower. Because the anime just like did it no justice. It's more like looming and interesting in the games. And then here we have another one where like that's it. There's your Lavender Sky and Lavender Town. I like how they still put like the energy orbs because our boy has to recycle CG assets. That's cool. That's the Pokemon Tower in the Pokemon world, and we finally get to really feel it. The coolest Porygon ever made, Jigglypuff. What in the world did you do? Where it's like CG extruded Jigglypuff and then just like strange notes because it just sings, and it doesn't have sing. The most classic promo Pikachu that was actually pretty strong. Heads, the opponent just like loses their turn on that paralyzed Pokemon, or they have to switch it out. And 60 health on the drop means like, oh, not a lot of stuff can kill you, and you can just like actually stun lock them a bit or play up. Neat. Smeargle. I like how that's almost its own modernist art, about a modernist art Pokemon. Neat. Flip a coin if heads, choose a type, put a coloring counter on defending Pokemon. That never took off. Pokemon is now that color. If Tails' attack does nothing. So it's like the conversion Porygon. Like, how are you supposed to play this? What are you supposed to do here? You put your energy for the turn, you change its color. I guess it stays. Like, if they switch out, they're still going to be that color. And then you use that to retreat next turn and try to play better. Maybe you force a knockout. I don't know. I don't think type manipulation ever happened. Ancient Mew, the classic, the shirt I was wearing at the beginning of the video that you already forgot about because that was a long time ago. And just like the wackiness of Infinity Cannon 999, 1 energy, I win kind of thing. But it was just like, this is cool. I've got a couple of these. I still have some sealed ones. I have some open ones. I had like a stack of sealed, and I just traded those off for Yu-Gi-Oh cards back in the day, or like other Pokemon cards I really wanted. I traded when the Lugia double card came out. The legend cards, like these were the coolest things, and I guess I'm going to talk about them at some point. I traded 1 sealed Ancient Mew for both legend cards when they came out, and I'm pretty sure that was a good deal because you could still get like sealed Ancient Mews for like 20-25 bucks, and the double legends were maybe 30. Yeah, and the Ancient Mew cards are still around 40. I was kind of worried. I was going to be like kind of maybe like, oh, because all the super vintage Pokemon stuff got like way too overpriced. Now Ancient Mew's like 100 bucks. But no, like Ancient Mew, because there were so many of them. I guess we don't know how many, but yeah, like the reason why I had so many is my friend's mom or dad, one of my friend's parents, worked at a movie theater and just gave him like a stack of the Ancient Mew promos, and then he just like, oh, I now have infinity schoolyard playground leverage with all these things. And then I think maybe like middle school, high school, he fell out of Pokemon, and I bought like his entire Pokemon collection for $20 or something, and it came with figures, a couple of cards, no good ones, I didn't like profit, except for the Mews, and then I got like 7 Ancient Mews, and he still had like 20 after giving me 7. So even though every kid had one, and like wrote all over them, and opened them and stuff, there's still like tens of thousands of sealed Ancient Mews you can just grab whenever, however, for like 40 bucks. Alright. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of the Japanese ones, so both for like $56, but those are way less expensive, and I can't find like an English one. Yeah, that's another Japanese one. I don't know, it's probably over 100 for both. Alright, we won. We won, chat. Yeah, Ancient Mew is cool, and you haven't missed the boat if you really, really want one that's sealed. And then this is just like a silly card. Is this like one of the first card competitions? And like, I think this might have been like the first English card competition, which is why it's like Wizards of the Coast promo. Craig. Congratulations, Craig. You made a cool meme card I like it. What else is there to say about the base set that isn't just me repeating myself at this point? I think I fully took in most of what there is to take in about all these cards and these things. I might have rushed on the last couple of sets, but I experienced them as a kid. I look back and I found new things in every set and a lot of cards and all that fun stuff. This is, yeah, I thought it was going to be like, oh, I look at all the sets and I come back and just talk about it for 30 minutes and like, that's all of Pokemon. But no, we're going to be taking a long dive here and we're going to see how it plays out. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.